All right, hello and welcome back to the For the Badge podcast. It's been a wild weekend in the Premier League. Lots of action going on, and we're going to get to every single bit of it. But before we do, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, get the notification bell on. Here we go. All right. What do we think of the couple of big ones in Champions League? We'll just get a couple minutes in here on the Champions League. Frankfurt and Napoli. Uh,
Ooh,
I don't know. I just don't
Napoli's
think
Napoli,
good.
man, they're good, man.
I don't think
What are
Napoli's
they like?
good.
14 points clear or something like that? It's
Yeah,
something insane, man.
they're
they're
destroying.
destroying Serie A.
I got this one 4-1 to Napoli.
Yeah, I can definitely see Napoli running them over. Um, Frankfurt though have done well in the Champions League. I mean, they won Europa League last season, made it in to the knockout rounds of this season's Champions League, but Napoli are just on a flyer. And I've watched a lot of Champions League this season. I don't know, man. That Bayern performance was pretty good versus PSG.
Yeah.
I'm interested
Oh,
to
they're
see.
done, man. Yeah, they're gonna smack them the next time.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm
yeah, they
interested to
should.
see what Napoli brings, and I'm also interested to see what Real Madrid brings. I'm just kind
Oh
of looking
yeah.
for who's the team to beat. Who's kind of got that swagger that
Well,
Bayern really produced.
it's interesting looking at what's left in the Champions League, and you start to kind of, especially as a Chelsea fan, it's like, oh, if we get past Dortmund, what do we have a chance at? And I mean, as long as you avoid a Bayern, a City, and a Napoli, I mean, or not a Napoli, I'm sorry, a Bayern, City, and a Real. I mean, it looks like okay, there's a path. But that said, looking at what's out there, you don't have the traditional, Barcelona. You don't have uh uh why am I blanking? Blanking. Um, I can't. Oh, Juventus and all that. Uh, Seriously, I can't believe that I blanked
They're
there
all
for a
in
second.
Europa.
They're all in Europa. Exactly. That's my
Yeah,
point. You look at this and you're like, Club Bruges. I mean, Benfica, understandable, but Club Bruges and Tottenham and Leipzig, and of course Porto is Porto. But I've got Inter winning. I'm getting a draw out of that one tomorrow.
really.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Oh, I'm
Inter's
sorry,
second.
Wednesday. That's Wednesday.
That's
Yeah,
Wednesday.
sorry.
Inter's second in Serie A. They've just
Yeah,
beaten AC Milan again.
yeah.
But I mean, second is a really big gap.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Do we think anybody in these next two? Well, that's a dumb question. I was gonna say, do we think anybody in these next 2 days of fixtures is the one? But we know what Lewis is at least hoping and thinking.
They'll show up, but who? I don't know who. But they'll show up. They'll get a win.
Y'all got to do it, man. This is y'all's. This has to be the season.
Has to be.
It has to. You know.
We'll
I
see.
mean, you look at the path, especially if you get like a Madrid Bayern matchup, in the next round, and you avoid them, your path is clear.
It's
You're gonna,
Champions League. I've
huh?
always said it. I've always said the path in the Champions League doesn't matter.
No, it
I
doesn't.
mean, I do. I think it does. I think that it's all about getting to. Once you get to the semifinals, it's anybody's game. But it's always that okay. Who do you play the 16? Who do you play in the quarters? And
Sure.
then it's
I
semi.
feel that in round of 16, maybe Liverpool have caught Madrid where City play Leipzig.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get that. But at the end of the day, if you're gonna be the best, you
Gotta
have to
beat them
beat.
all.
You
you're
gotta
gonna
beat
have to
the
beat
best.
one of them
You gotta beat
Gotta beat
everybody
them
eventually.
all.
to be the best.
But would you rather just being truthful? Would you rather go Leipzig, Madrid, Bayern, and then Napoli, or would you? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like you want one of those they're good because, of course, they're in the Champions League, knockout stage. But you want one of those ones where you're like, okay, we don't have to be on our P's and Q's for this one.
How much different is that than saying, okay, City play Porto, then they play Inter, then they play Bayern, and then they have to play. How much of a difference is okay? City play.
I think it's a massive difference.
City play Inter, and then they play Dortmund, and then they play. I don't know if it's that much of a difference.
Well, because the Champions
is
League
tied
final
on
was one
points
game.
with Bayern. Dortmund is tied on points with Bayern at the top of the Bundesliga. So it's not like there's that much in between them this season. AC Milan and Inter Milan are neck and neck in the Serie A, and Napoli is better than all of them. So
Napoli's freaking machine.
What's the difference? There's not.
Oh no, I get that, but what I'm just saying with it being a 2-leg tie, do you want to play 4 games against Bayern and Real Madrid, or do you want to play one of them for 1 game? Because anything can happen in 1 game, and that's kind of my point. Like, you want to avoid that. You want a Real Bayern matchup at some point, so that you may play only one of them. Yeah. Okay, you only have to play them in a 1-legged tie, or just a 1-game matchup. And that's where anything can happen, but you have a better chance. And I think that's hopefully that's what City's hoping for, is that they get a Porto, and they probably will. I mean, they'll either get a Benfica or they'll get a Porto, and then they'll get, Bayern to, go to the finals.
I guess my point is, how much difference is the semifinal and the final? How much tougher will the final be than the semifinal?
The semifinal's the toughest.
That team, because we know it's going to be both the semifinal and the final are going to be monsters. Porto's not making.
Oh, most definitely.
But Porto's not making the final. Let's.
I know that. No.
Benfica
I get that.
is not making the final.
No, I get that. I'm talking about the next round.
You're seeing Madrid. Somebody like that is going to make it to the final.
Yeah.
So
of course, but you have a 1-game matchup instead of a 2-legged tie. So hopefully you get the best.
Is that extra game that much of a difference? Madrid Bayern.
For City, it is, because if you think about City, they got to win against Madrid, and then they completely crapped the bed the next time they played them, because Madrid was Madrid.
It's the Benzema effect.
And the thing is, I would agree. I'd actually prefer City got the tougher draws than the easier ones, because I think they play down to teams. I think when they play better teams, they play better. And so if it's a perception of what a team is, I'd prefer that they get a Bayern or Real Madrid earlier. So if either it's over, or you slayed one of your the bosses on the path to the final boss. And does that make that game against whoever the final is, if they make it to the final, more difficult? Hell yeah, it does, because if you say you have to play Bayern and Real to get to the final, and Napoli's your final, while on paper you're like, Napoli shouldn't be a thing, but Napoli's there, and that matters, because if we're being honest, when City played Chelsea in that final, City, I all respect due to Chelsea, because they did what they were supposed to do and they won the game. But there's no way anybody was like, Chelsea's going to win that game. Nobody said that early. Nobody said it early. So Chelsea did exactly what they were supposed to do. They won the game, and they played their game. And that's why they have 2 Champions Leagues, because the teams that were supposed to win, there's like, well, we'll show you who's supposed to win with our final result. And I give Chelsea credit, because they got it both times they won it. They won against teams they weren't supposed to win, and they won.
Madrid.
Absolutely.
Madrid. But that's kind of my point, though. It's Champions League. Yeah, exactly. No. I'm not talking like negative about any of the teams. I'm just saying, as a City, if I were a City fan and I'm looking at this, because I'm looking at the round of 16 right now, I want Bayern and Real to play each other at some point,
Please.
and give me, give me Milan, give me Chelsea, Dortmund, whatever. If it's me, I'm avoiding Napoli as for all I can because they have just been an absolute machine this year. And maybe Frankfurt slows them down, but I just think you're gonna have to beat Madrid, obviously. Do you want to beat Madrid in one game or do you want to beat Madrid over a two-legged tie? I personally, with the way Madrid played last year, would take the one game against them. Personally, that's how I would take it. But that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That one's it's the same kind of argument. Like, do you want to play? What's worse, the Bernabeu or the Allianz? You know,
Well, it depends. It depends.
like if you have to play, if you have to go away down 1-0, what's worse, the Bernabeu or the Allianz?
I'd say probably the Allianz.
I agree.
So maybe you're right. I don't know though. Like, again, I haven't watched a whole bunch of Bayern this season, but they were good. They were good against Paris, and I don't. Paris are going to have to show something a whole bunch more to get through that next game, because like we say, it's at the Allianz, and I don't know if
And
Bayern are going to relinquish that.
the funny thing is even if PSG is able to pull it out, they're a wounded animal.
Mm-hmm.
That I would want them next.
Yeah.
If they won, I would want them next.
Yeah. I think City would, yeah. Based on what I've seen of Paris this season, and I mean, I've obviously seen a lot more of City, but what I expect City to bring in these knockout phases, the team to beat.
Oh yeah. Most definitely.
If they can, and again, I'm gonna be honest. If they, I care about the league, but if they can find consistency for the Champions League, hey man, Arsenal take the trophy. Enjoy it. Enjoy the trophy. I would not care. Two shakes. FA Cup. Whoever's in there, you have that too. If it's one trophy that goes to the Etihad, and it's the big ears one, then I don't care what the results are the rest of the season.
Love that big ears. I'm telling you.
I mean, there's a whole lot going on this season, so it hasn't really been talked about a lot, but I feel like there's a fair amount of pressure on Pep to get this one.
Oh yes, he knows it. He's called it. He knows his pressure.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, he said it multiple times where he's like, yeah, you can't win the league every year. Because that's not what they're focused on right now. There's no way, because I mean, if they don't get Haaland if they just want to win the league.
Right.
Yeah,
they can win the league without him. They don't go get Haaland if they just want to win the league. Yeah, Jesus would have stayed. They would have paid Jesus. They would have paid Zinchenko and said, hey, stay here. You know what we're doing. We're just gonna, win the league a fulfillion times and just be fine with that. If that
UEFA.
Hope we make Champions League. Yeah.
If you look at Champions League though, UEFA has at least 3 spicy storylines if everything were to go the way they'd want it. You'd have Bayern versus City, which would be Cancelo against his former team. You'd have Chelsea versus Benfica, Enzo against his former team. Milan versus Inter. I mean,
sure.
You'd have a derby. And then you'd have Real, who was the juggernaut last year, versus Napoli, who seems to be the juggernaut this year.
And I think Napoli would beat them.
I think so too. That Napoli team is...
They're good, man.
Ousmane is on fire, man. Ousmane, I don't know how to say his name.
Ousmane or something like that.
He's crushing. We'll know that much, but yeah, I think I'm really, don't shoot me, Arsenal fans, but I'm really looking forward to City's game on Wednesday. I'm really looking forward to seeing, because I just feel like they're gonna come out and be like, look, this is our tournament. Y'all about to get wrecked.
Mhm.
I think, and the thing is, I think Arsenal's going to do that in the Europa League. I think once they start rolling, I think Arteta really wants to win that. I think he wants a double. I think he does. I think he wants a double because they're good enough to win a double.
Double would, yeah, exactly.
They're
too,
good
man.
enough to win it.
Yes, I would love that. I like the way you think, Lewis. I like the way you think. I would love that. Yeah. Looking at Europa League, there's
Is
some
the final
teams-
in Azerbaijan
Oh God!
or Kazakhstan?
It was Baku. It
Baku,
was Baku.
Kazakhstan.
God, I don't even want to talk about that.
Where's no, seriously? Where's the final for Europa? Do we know?
Oh, I don't know that at all, man.
Europa League.
It's at Borat's
final.
house.
At Borat's house.
Yeah, but probably.
Budapest.
Is it in Budapest? Okay.
Budapest. Well, you're not. That's not much difference. At least it's in, you know, 2 time zones away instead of like 12.
Right. Good grief. Yeah, I can only hope that that we're there in Budapest. I'm not, like I say, I'm not really worried about the Europa League, but we definitely want to win it. You want to win everything, and I don't know. There are some teams still in it. So
No, it's still a good tournament. Like I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on the Europa League just because the teams that are left in there.
But yeah, speaking of Europa League, Barcelona and Man U on Thursday. I think
That should be a fun one.
I think old Newell might just bag one. Might just go ahead and see them through, and sink United hearts at Old Trafford, or maybe that's just my heart speaking.
I think you're right. I don't know.
I'm picking Rashford.
Yeah, really?
I'm picking Rashford, man.
He'll lose 2-1, but he'll score.
He's been on fire. I think Rashford will do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that'll about do it for us as well. We've gotten quite the distance this evening. But go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell on. This has been the For the Badge podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. I know I have. Have a good night.